Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning back into my channel. I'd like to just send out a wee apology, as I always do when it's been a time lapse since I've posted any videos. I know some of you have been waiting. I promised a 5G video some months ago. I've just not got round to doing it yet. I've went back into full-time employment recently, so obviously that takes up most of your time. It's basically just trying to reintegrate yourself into a new routine. It's not always easy. I don't always find that easy, because when I was working 3 days a week before, I had 2 days to do this, and then you get those 2 days basically taken off you, because as I mentioned, I'm going to be relocating just shortly, so I had to up my hours, which is that's going to be coming very soon, and it'll be at that point that I start recording on a weekly basis again. In fact, it'll probably be more on a daily basis. The content, I'll still be doing stuff like this, but the content's definitely going to get richer. With regards to that 5G video, I was trying to work out how to use Clipchamp on my laptop, and I'm kind of getting there with it, like, but I wasn't happy with some of the finishes, so I'm going to have to revisit that, and I'll have a chance to do that obviously when I move to this next stage. And like I say, just be patient, and you'll see what I mean, because I don't like to speak too much about it. I wasn't actually going to post this video. I was just going to wait and do a video when I got there, but it's still going to be a couple of weeks away yet, because I've obviously got this Oasis gig coming up soon, so I mean, there's no point doing anything until that's out the way. Like I say, I wanted to do this video in the next few weeks, but I've obviously came across some disturbing information, and I'll be honest with you, over the last couple of months, I've not really been paying much attention to what's going on in the world. Obviously, you see things here and there. I've seen some disturbing news today, something to do with victims of Afghanistan are going to be suing the British government and for billions of pounds, and it's going to be us that's paying it. So that's obviously going to have to be looked at. But this is far more concerning. There's an organisation that we have in the UK, and they're called Big Brother Watch, and I don't know if you've ever heard of them. I came across them a few years ago, and they do some absolutely fantastic work. So a lot of what I'm going to be reading out here is predominantly going to be from their research, because it's like, I mean, they've already done it. There's no point me going into any more. It's they've actually come up with, I mean, they've got every last bit of data that you would obviously need to know with this, and it has to do with, as you can see from the title, facial recognition. Now, facial recognition is, it's when you read through this, it's probably going to alarm you. You can watch some videos on their YouTube channel, and I suggest you subscribe to them, because they are absolutely brilliant in what they do, and they monitor any police constabularies that are police forces around the country that are going to be testing facial recognition. They go and monitor them doing it, and it's actually quite a sight to watch. You wouldn't know that if you watch the mainstream media videos on it, like The Independent. They done a report on it not so long ago, and everything was positive. It was all people who were criminals that should have been apprehended. But when you watch Big Brother's videos, or Big Brother Watch's videos, you'll see that actually hundreds of people, innocent people, are being detained for crimes that they've not committed. Now, also within Big Brother Watch, there's been a question and answer, a Q&A with, I think it was Essex Police, who had trialled the technology, and some of the I'll read out. I'll post the whole Q&A for a link for it in the description. But there's a couple of questions that I've highlighted that I'll come to later in the video, that shows that this technology is completely and utterly useless, and why they want to start using it is just absolutely beyond my comprehension. Looking at it sort of small-mindedly, it may be beyond your comprehension, but when you look at the long-term agenda of, it's like a dystopian society they're after. It's always been what they've been after. They want total control of absolutely everything of your mind, which is why they want to put chips into us, and they've already done that with so many people, and some without their knowledge. And this is just the latest stage of that. It's a police state, and when you see some of these videos, they are really. I mean, it is. It's like the Stasi police. The way that the police are sort of carrying on with it. And there's a particular video that shows a man who had proved that he wasn't the guy that was on the facial recognition, who the police said he was, and they still held him up for up to 40 minutes. I mean, he had an obligation towards his family and his kids, and he ended up missing it, which obviously made his wife very unhappy. The police didn't seem to be too concerned about that. And there was also another guy, you'll see him in the video as well, Sean Thompson. And it turns out that he's actually a community leader, and I think it's in South London. Try to get knives off the street and young kids away from knife crime, sort of the job the police used to do. And I mean, it seems to be when you actually watch these videos that they would rather apprehend people who are not criminals. It's just easier for them to do that, to make it look like they're doing their job, and let community workers like Sean Thompson sort of try and get knives off the street for them while they apprehend him for something he hasn't done. And that is exactly what happened. Glasgow was the first smart city in the UK. London's the most watched city in the world and has been for quite some time now. Manchester's already also been added to that as well. And like this obviously this briefing here goes into exactly what that is. So I'll start with the introduction. I will skip through it. I've read through this a couple of times, so just bear with me. I'll keep it as brief as I can. I know some people like longer videos, others like shorter. I'll sort of try and get into the middle of that, because this is definitely something that we need to be made aware of, because I actually feel quite ashamed and embarrassed anyway that I've sort of dropped out for 3 months while this has been going on, because I mean it's our duty to obviously try and spread the truth as much as we can, and it's nothing about, I've said it many times, I'm right, you're right, it's nothing to do with that. It's that this agenda is happening, this dystopian world is coming towards us at such a fast rate now. I mean, even like look at it last year when people were putting an opinion on Facebook that was getting them jailed, whilst criminals that had committed far worse crimes were being let free. Like, I mean, it's just absolute madness. It's the perfect example of a sort of upside down, an inverted society, because that's what it is. I mean, everything's upside down. And this technology's upside down, because, like I say, they're arresting people that have got nothing to do with the crimes that they're claiming that they've had to do with, and yet the technology is supposed to detect criminals and keep us all safe, and that's what it is. It's every time you hear police forces talking about it, it's about protecting our civil liberties and freedoms whilst taking them away with this technology. And I mean, it's not lawful technology. It's been established many times by Big Brother Watch and the people that they work with. This is not lawful to do this. But what worries me a wee bit about it though is that yes, the technology is flawed at the moment, and that will keep everyone against it for the time being. However, if they start to, like in that Independent video, they actually caught a man who was under a sexual harm prevention order, and he was actually taking his friend's kid to school or to some function, which that sexual harm prevention order was that prevented him from doing that, or it prohibited him from doing that. So obviously people are getting on board with that type of thing, and every single one on that Independent video was a hit. In other words, it's to manipulate people to think that we need this technology. However, if they can get people believing that every single one's a hit, and it's a very, very small percentage that they get wrong, then they will garner support for that, and that's what they need to do to bring anything into society. And I've said that many times, I hate to repeat myself, but they need your consent for that. And if they get people believing that, well, I don't really want facial recognition in the streets while I'm out doing my shopping, but if it prevents sexual predators from taking kids to sort of functions that they shouldn't be taking them to, then I'm all for that. And it's true, like you would have to agree with that. However, when you look at the grand scheme of things, it's so invasive. I mean, they're scanning people, they're leaving photos on, even of the innocent people. They're being left on record when they shouldn't be, and people are having to contact the relevant police forces multiple times to ask them to have them removed. Now, I think that I've committed crimes, I've been in prison, and I've obviously been up to court and arrested many times, something I'm not proud of. However, my DNA's on their system for life, as many people who's been in a similar situation will know. But I think it should be like after sort of the criminal conviction's been spent, like, is it 5 or 10 years or whatever it is, it should be removed. Why is your DNA not being removed if for the same reason? And if you're innocent, having a photo taken live through facial recognition, it should be deleted absolutely instantly. If this technology is so good, then why is that happening? And all I can see is it's just another bloody knob on the machine that they can turn up to stress people out and sort of get that low vibrational energy that they have in abundance. Because it's always the people, the innocent people that are trying to do the right thing, like that Sean Thompson guy, that get caught up in this nonsense. And it's such a shame, because there's no excuse for not being aware of this stuff now. I'm doing this new job. I'm working from a company with a company from Nottingham, and we have a lot of discussions about this. There's guys from Lincolnshire, and there's a few guys that are on board. We have we have good discussions being to these other guys. But then the tea room will empty. It's just like the break room will completely empty, because it's not that they don't know, it's that they don't care and they don't want to know. They just seem to be to care about themselves. As long as, well, I'm alright, it's nothing to worry about. And it's very alarming, because this is pressing ahead. And all you can do, I suppose, is record a video and read out the information that you're given. So I'll start with the introduction. Like I say, I'm going to put this briefing, and I'll tag Big Brother Watch in it, because like I say, it's their research, it's not mine. I just thought this would be a good thing for me to get back into recording with, just to sort of dip my toe in the water again. Because like I say, it's been 3 months. It actually feels quite strange to be sitting here, because when you're doing something sort of once or twice a week and doing live, and then you go to not doing it, it can knock your not confidence. It just means that you just kind of think to yourself, well, I'll ease myself back into this. So the UK is one of the most surveilled countries in the world, with an estimated 6 million CCTV cameras across the nation. So I mean, that's unbelievable. That's 6 cameras for every 10. Yeah, I mean, 6 million cameras. Did I read that right? Yeah, an estimated 6 million CCTV cameras across the nation. London has become the most surveilled city outside of China, and even has more cameras per person than Beijing. So yeah, I was trying to work that out there. My maths is kind of off just now. Yeah, cameras can be seen in every public building, business, and in every high street, and our investigation has found that a huge number are made by controversial Chinese surveillance companies like Hikvision and Dawei. Open source data suggests that there are hundreds of thousands of internet connected CCTV cameras made by these 2 companies in the UK, and as we go through this, you'll see just how many people and how many public sectors organisations in Britain are actually using these things. As well as a huge number of cameras that are not indexed online. Hikvision is the biggest CCTV manufacturer in the world, with 2020 revenues of almost 7.5 billion, while Dahua may be the second largest CCTV maker in the world, with annual revenues of under 3 billion. And they're becoming increasingly dominant in the UK. And the problem with these Chinese made CCTV is that there's always backdoor systems put into them, which mean it can be fed back to the CCP in China, which is it's the system they're trying to force on us. That's the blueprint for the world now, which is why they get nothing said to them for absolutely anything, including these concentration camps that they've got running. This is the problem here. This is why this is so important, because these cameras are actually being run in Chinese concentration camps for it's like the Uyghur population. They're sort of Sunni Muslims, which the Chinese government do not tolerate, and they've got over 1 million people housed in concentration camps for re-education, shoot to kill purposes for anyone trying to escape. And these cameras are being used within these concentration camps. It also happens they're being used. The Ministry of Defence have been using them, obviously, but they themselves have said that they shouldn't be used in schools. However, there was a school in Norfolk that did actually use them, which we'll come to. Advanced surveillance capabilities come as standard in many Hikvision and Dewear's new camera models, from object detection and behavioural analysis to facial recognition. The Chinese CCTV giant markets their products, smart features and algorithmic processing as much as they push their hardware. High-tech equipment is becoming alarmingly widespread and threatens to normalise AI-powered surveillance of the British public without justification or even the knowledge of the British people that it's happening, because most people I've spoke to, they didn't know this was going on, certainly with regards to the cameras that are in these Chinese concentration camps. The international context is of great importance when considering why the use of Hikvision and Dawua in Britain is so concerning. Entities ultimately controlled by the Chinese Communist Party have significant shareholdings in both companies. Of course they do, because they probably funded them from the beginning. With Hikvision having their larger state shareholdings, both companies are known to supply surveillance equipment that has been used to target ethnic minorities in northwestern Chinese province of Xinjiang. And Toshiba have actually, they're an affiliate of one of these companies. There's another household name technology that we've used forever in Britain that are involved in it as well. The Uyghurs are a predominantly Muslim ethnic group, the majority population in Xinjiang. They are subjected to a brutal campaign of persecution and repression by the Beijing regime. A massive state surveillance apparatus with huge technological capability monitors the population, while thousands of people are detained in detention camps the Chinese government claims are anti-extremism education centres. And I actually mentioned this to someone at work the other day there, and they said, we should have something like that for the immigrants that come into this country. And it's like, so you want a concentration camp in your country for people that, and again it comes back to not blaming the immigrants for that. I know it's hard for some of this older generation to sort of think like that, but we don't want something like this in our country, that's for sure. I think I would rather keep it the way it is, to be honest with you. They've been accused of providing equipment to be used both for general surveillance of the people of Xinjiang and to guard government-run concentration camps in the region. And there's a significant difference both in purpose and technological capability between how these cameras are used in China and their use in the UK, but there remain serious privacy, legal, ethical issues with foreign companies involved in ethnic persecution with to watch British streets. Security on both a national and individual basis is a further cause for concern with these cameras. Hikvision and Dawua, among the other Chinese technology companies, were placed on a US list of firms that pose a threat to American national security by Federal Communications Commission, and that's the FCC, who themselves are compromised with 5G contracts. A move that was backed by huge bipartisan majorities in both houses of Congress. Vulnerabilities in both companies' technology and their links to the Chinese regime were key reasons behind the US blacklisting their equipment, but yet the US have blacklisted their equipment, but we're still using it. It's absolute madness. It's Big Brother Watch is opposed to mass surveillance in all its forms. The human rights concern, security risk and normalisation of highly advanced camera technology make the Hikvision and Dawua takeover of British CCTV systems particularly alarming. Yeah, absolutely. If these cameras are used to profile and persecute ethnic minorities abroad, what could backed actors use them for at home? Well, it is a good question, isn't it? The UK government should ban the sale and operation of Hikvision and Dawua surveillance equipment in the UK, condemn their involvement in technology-enabled human rights abuses in China. I'm sure you'll all agree with that. Now, over 5 months, Big Brother, apparently they'd submitted, according to this, 4,500 Freedom of Information Acts to a range of public bodies to establish where Hikvision and Dawua equipment is in use and what advanced capabilities this equipment has. Some subsequent focus requests were submitted to public bodies who had confirmed that they do use Hikvision cameras. Some refused, some didn't respond. The public bodies include all secondary schools and FE colleges in England, all UK universities, police forces, NHS trusts, all Oxbridge colleges, all central government departments, the House of Commons, the 3 devolved administrations and the Greater London Assembly. We also used our social media channels and email newsletters to share call-outs for the public and our supporters to let us know if they saw Hikvision and Dawua cameras being used in their communities, particularly by private businesses. Desk research complemented this to corroborate reports of the cameras being used and to find further examples across the country. Searches on the Internet of Things, Scraper Showdown, were also informative in establishing the potential scale of the internet connected Hikvision and Dawua networks across the country. And for statistical purposes, all figures refer to percentage of public bodies who responded to a request for information and not refused to disclose details in their reply. For example, if your request about the use of height vision was sent to 10 schools, which yielded 5 responses, 2 yes, 2 no, and 1 refusal due to an exemption, the findings would be that 50% respondent schools use height vision. And these are the headline findings. So there are thousands and thousands of height vision in Dahua. I don't even know how to say that. I'll say it like that anyway, since I have been since the beginning of the video. Cameras in use by public sector all over the United Kingdom. 3 out of every 5 of the 1,300 public bodies who responded to our request for information said they have equipment made by these 2 companies, adding up to almost 800 public bodies confirmed as actively using the controversial cameras. So you're walking about institutions, streets, and the government in China could be watching you without you. I mean, it's absolute madness. I mean, you could argue, well, you don't know that they are, they might not be, but I would find that hard to believe when you look at the state that China's in, and with their social credit system and all the rest of it. At the time of publication, fewer than 3 in 10 public bodies responded to our Freedom of Information Act, with the response rate varying significantly between different types of authority. Considering the high proportion of respondents that did confirm the use height vision or DWIA cameras, it is reasonable to assume that there are thousands of public bodies who are using equipment from the 2 manufacturers. And it suggests that 2,800 public bodies, 60% of all public bodies, may use this surveillance technology. And it's a multi-camera setup that only require each public sector uses of Chinese TV to operate a handful of cameras, to put the number of cameras above 10,000 with a single contact between 2 London councils to weigh totaling 900 cameras. It is fair to assume that the number of cameras made by 2 controversial companies may be significantly greater than 10,000 from public bodies alone. And both companies are also rebranded as sold under other names, including Honeywell and Toshiba. So when you're buying things like Honeywell and Toshiba, it's just pretty much the same company. So figures throughout this report may significantly underreport the true number of these height vision and DWIA made products operating in the UK for that reason, because of the affiliation with Toshiba and Honeywell. So when you actually take that into consideration, you would probably be as well saying what part of Britain they can't see. And information in the private sector is more difficult to obtain, but Big Brother Watch is working hard to establish which private businesses are also using Chinese state-owned CCTV. Major supermarkets and fast food chains are already known to be among the private businesses using the 2 companies' cameras. Now, overall, 60.8% of public schools responded to our Freedom of Information request, confirmed that they use Chinese-made CCTV. So that's 60% of the schools that they contacted had responded to say that I mean, geez, that's over half, obviously. 89% of these use height vision made equipment, and 12% use DWIA made equipment. More than 10% of public bodies had advanced CCTV capabilities, including thermal scanning or facial detection. So this is how they do it. They slowly integrate things in without your knowledge, and then they run their tests, and it's usually crap to begin with, but then they improve it, and before they know it, because they've improved it and they're catching people, like was mentioned before, people get on board with it. And as long as they garner support from the public to say, well, I don't want to be spied on, but I don't want to be harmed either, so I would rather have my liberties taken away and my privacy, just so that to save me. And it's true, like, because anytime a tyrant wants to justify their measures, they claim they use the safety of people to justify that. And it's just not. Every single tyrant through history has claimed that they've had to sort of do these measures to protect their people, protect their freedoms. It's the word. It's always to protect your freedom. We have to do this to protect your freedom. It's for your freedom. 63.4% of schools use Chinese media TV, 82% of these use height vision, 10% use DWIA, at least 40 schools have facial recognition, 14 have demographic detection such as age and gender detection, and 17 have thermal surveillance. One multi-academy trust disclosed in a Freedom of Information it has face mask detection and people tracking capable cameras, and some of the CCTV can use AI to recognise a fight. A Norfolk school put height vision cameras in the toilets. This is sort of predetermined crime, so they can these cameras can actually monitor well, it's monitoring the frequency, which is basically, I mean, that's all a mood and emotion is. So they can monitor that, and they can tell from what frequency or what emotion is coming from you, what I mean, it's like that film Deja Vu. It's like crime prevention. It's insane, like, and they've actually had this capability for a very, very long time. Further education colleges, 66.2% of colleges use Chinese-made CCTV, so it's permeated right through our society, ladies and gentlemen. It's already here, and we've been sitting, going about our lives, me included, without the knowledge of that. And I mean, I knew we were being surveilled. We are listening to it. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It never has. Through these bugs that we have in our hands, 70% of the day at least. But I didn't realise the extent, and it's the alarming nature of how it's done, not to mention what's going on in China with it and what these cameras are used for. It's just further imprinting the Chinese system on us, and it's something that we have to thwart it. Like I say, it's people say, well, how do you fix it? And you're probably sick of me saying this, but a dialogue has to be opened with it instead of worrying what other people think of me for opening the dialogue. I mean, who cares what they think? They can think what they want, but so can you. And I'm sick of it, frankly, because, I mean, I still get looked at strangely. All that it bothers me, it's like, but, I mean, look at you, mate. You're walking around with your head up your arse and you're looking at me strangely. 53% of higher educated Chinese police forces. Okay, here we go. 34.9% of UK police forces use Chinese-made CCTV equipment. All of these use height vision. Police forces were reluctant to answer questions about any advanced capabilities, while some refused to say if they use Chinese branded. And these advanced capabilities are sort of, they've got racial prejudices anyway, but they're gender detection, whether you're angry or not, the emotion you're about, all that stuff, what you're thinking, they've got this capability already. NHS Trust, 60% of NHS Trust use this equipment, 85% height vision and 14 Dawar. One hospital appears to have a mass detection camera at the door to A&E. A specialist hospital in North West London uses a combined metal detector arch and thermal scanner at the entrance. And that is sent to local authorities, which are also using it, which is, again, alarming. 73.2% of local authorities use this CCTV surveillance, 90% height vision, 10% Dawar. Manchester and Glasgow, home with some of the highest population of Chinese descent in the UK, both use height vision. Some local authorities are acting on concerns about height vision's controversial record, and so they should be. And this is the thing, and this is why, I don't know, you find your local councillor, you send emails to your local authority and ask them exactly how much of this CCTV is being used. And you'll get, I mean, I'd phoned up and asked them who authorised to put 5G in the area. They didn't know, they couldn't tell me. And you're still waiting on a phone call back for them to tell you. So that's how it works. The people in the office don't care. As long as their wages in the bank at the end of the month, it's all good. And that's the way they look at it. Nothing to do with me. I've got my own problems, understandable. But we're going to have a lot more if this continues. Of the 4 departments who responded to the request without a refusal, the Department of Work and Pensions said it used height vision cameras. Well, I am just stunned. I mean, I just can't believe it, that the DWP would be using such a tyrannical and dystopian technology, because that is what they are. The very policies that are drawn up there are dystopian and despicable, might I add, as you can... I mean, it's how I ended up on YouTube, is what you'll obviously know. This is despite the Ministry of Defence advising that height vision should not be used in schools. I mean, that's the Ministry of Defence that are advising not to use this stuff in schools, but yet this clown in Norfolk, at the head of this, Norfolk, obviously thought it was a good idea. He obviously never got the memo, did he? So advanced surveillance capabilities, both height vision and the way they use their websites to boast about the technology that comes with their CCTV cameras. As 2 of the biggest players in the global market, it is no surprise that they are at the bleeding edge of surveillance technology, and that's only what's in the public domain. You imagine what they've got behind the scenes. I mean, it's like, I was once told, everything you see on these sci-fi films, TV shows, etc., it's all taken from truth, because where do you think they get the idea from? Why do you think when you start reading about the underground projects and then you start, oh, that's like Stargate, that's like Starship, because this is where these writers are dialed in. This is where they're getting it from. And they're obviously boasting about the dominance in the UK CCTV market, normalising high-tech surveillance in the UK. I mean, they must genuinely be laughing at us. They must genuinely be doing that. I mean, it must it's not so easy for the British government to spy on them, is it? But we buy their spying technology off them, and we pay for it. We pay for that. Sorry. This section primarily focuses on advanced CCTV and analytics rather than general technical progress in CTV, such as enhanced night vision or colour reproduction. All files are based in English language. It doesn't really matter. I didn't really read that, but and this is just like these are just technology overviews, etc. And like I say, I don't want to go into all of this because, like I say, I'll put it into the description. I don't want you to sit and listen to me rambling. It'll take me hours to read this to you. But you can read it yourself, obviously, in your own time. I just wanted to go in and make people aware on this channel that this is going on. This type of thing it's being used, and like I say, we're going to get caught out with it at one point or another. We all go shopping, we all go out to cities or whatever, and it is just a matter of time before. I mean, there's one of the videos. There's a lady, she gets pulled up and told, or a guy, is that the guy? I can't remember. You'll see it in the video, and he gets told he's banned from Hollister for life for stealing. And he's, you on about me? I've never done. It's not me. Not interested. So mass surveillance raises serious human rights concerns. I'm sure you'll all agree. And CCTV, the CCP in China are definitely at the heart of that. Like I say, they'll have amazing advanced capabilities within their underground projects, and it really will be. They'll be using the technology they've got now with that. I mean, there's absolutely no two ways about it. They'll be somehow connected up. I mean, you'd be a fool not to think that, really, like. So the growing use of night vision and dual raises additional rights and ethics concerns. Both companies supply technologies used in Xinjiang where there is overwhelming evidence that serious human rights abuses are being committed against ethnic minorities by the Chinese state. In December 2021, an official tribunal based in London alleged that Uyghurs, there's different ways to pronounce it, just type it, I mean you'll see it anyway if you want to sort of research it, for the region's largest ethnic group, were victims of genocide and a campaign of repression that involves torture and attempts to suppress the Uyghur birth rate. Tribunal Chair Sir Geoffrey Nice, QC, a barrister who previously prosecuted the former Yugoslavian President Slobodan Milosevic for war crimes, said that the crimes against humanity being committed would require cooperation from the highest echelons of state power. And there's loads of human rights groups all over this at the moment. Human rights groups, the UK House of Commons, even Foreign Affairs Select Committee have alleged that Uyghurs are subject to atrocities ranging from forced labour in so-called education centres to the repression of examining cultures, practice and environment of mass surveillance. And what they're actually doing is there's a lot of forced labour that they're sending, like the cotton fields in China. This is where a lot of these people are being sent to, and the UK is actually buying that as well. And I know we don't ask where our products come from, do we? We just buy it because we need it. But this is what's going on. I mean, nobody asks any questions when in the local Londis or whatever it is, or Tesco. Like if you're buying cotton buds or something, you don't know where that's coming from, do you? You don't really care. Why would you ask? But this is why we need to sort of be aware of what's going on in the world, and to say that genocide must never happen again. It's like since the Second World War, it's happened many times, and it's happening again now, and it will continue to happen as long as we play ignorant to the practices of the elites of this world. And again, regarding China, people think that America, China, they're all apart. You have to see the world as a chessboard. These countries are mere pieces that get moved into position to then advance the agenda of the people that's playing the game. And if you don't know that a game exists, how can you change the game or even get out of it? Because you're not acknowledging that any game's even being played, and you're actually being you're a party, you're a pawn in that game because they need your support. And there is no borders when it comes to China and all these people are sitting at the highest tables. They're doing it together because they are advancing the agenda of the people that run this planet. And the agenda of the people that run this planet is to do away with any infidels, any people that go against them. People like me would have been first to the ovens in Nazi Germany, and they would have had a problem with me, and they will have problems with me, and many others. But I mean, like I say, it's if you don't accept that these powers run the world and there's an evil behind it, and it's what is evil, what's good, what's evil. It's all everything's intelligence and perception, but we're talking about the here and now. I mean, what kind of world do you want to leave for your kids? Do you want your kids walking about in facilities that are being the feed's being fed back to the Chinese CCP? I'm sure you don't. And I'm sure that anybody that's just been made aware of this stuff will feel. I'm not trying to spread any fear. It's the more people that know about it, the more knowledge you've got on this, the more you'll expel the fear of it. That is a fact. The less you know about it, the more you'll fear. And this is what people need to understand when they say to me, or people like me, that you're spreading fear. Well, not talking about it, that's spreading even more fear. So we might as well talk about it. Sorry, I go off on one. Where was it? Hike Vision, Human Rights Groups UK. The details of these abuses should prompt a serious review of the legality, ethics and rights and security risk trading with Hike Vision and Dewey. Both companies have been repeatedly named as providing equipment to the internment camps, holding thousands of people for the mass surveillance apparatus in the region as a whole, including by Amnesty International and Foreign Affairs Select Committee have also accused them of it. And Hike Vision refused to deny the claims, though stated they were unsubstantiated months before IPVM identified several Hike Vision cameras in a video of the camps. So I mean, they didn't deny the claims, but they called it unsubstantiated. That's just playing games there, isn't it? I'm sure you'll agree. And then there's rights abuses in the Xinjiang detention and the presence of CCTV cameras. In 2021, an Amnesty International report alleged that the Chinese regime was responsible for crimes against humanity and had created a dystopian hellscape. Amnesty collected for it evidence from dozens of people who had been detained in Xinjiang, who outlined the efforts being made by the Chinese government to suppress the religious and ethnic identities of local Muslim ethnic groups, including Uyghurs and Kazakhs. The Amnesty report said that hundreds of thousands of people from Muslim ethnic groups has been sent to prison, and further hundreds of thousands of people had been sent to what the Chinese government describes as training or education centres under the banner of anti-extremism. So they're calling it anti-extremism. It's extreme to them, and they claim there is no terror in their country now because of that. And that's how they do it. They get people saying, look what they're doing. I mean, that's helping. We're not getting these immigrants coming in with this with their sort of their hate speech against our country. So maybe that's the way to go. It's like what they're saying about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is brilliant at what he's doing, and we need to adopt these policies. And maybe some of them we do, but he's the soft sell, and he's for Israel as well. And there's a massive AI surveillance centre being set up in Israel that's to monitor the world, and that'll be connected to China as well, because again, as you go back to some of my videos, you'll see that Morris Strong, American oil tycoons, have all been connected to China over the years. Donald Rumsfeld, an American official he was the official during 9/11, he's been connected to China and North Korea. He's been selling North Korea bloody nuclear weapons, and claims that we need to stop selling, we need to stop North Korea using nuclear weapons. Well, stop selling them then, mate, and maybe they'll not be able to use them. Very, very simple. They're just hypocrites, these people. And this is the thing, they know all this stuff goes on, even though they've been accused of it. That's not to say everyone's evil within these governments, but it's being controlled on the top from the evil people, and as long as they've got cowards in government that are afraid, then nothing will ever be done about it, which is why they have cowards in government in the first place. I mean, there's cowards everywhere. Every 1 in 5 in customer services are coward. In fact, it's probably more than that, because they don't want to tell people the truth. They don't want to say anything to their manager. I've got no problem doing it, and people need to sort of adopt that. And who cares what anybody thinks for it, because that's the way it is. And if they can't take you as you are, then you need to stand up for yourself. You can't. It's nice to be nice. It's better to be good though. So this is I'll just cut this one. Mass surveillance in Xinjiang, the role of Hike Vision and Dewey. Almost everyone in Xinjiang, not just those in detention, live under the watchful eye of Big Brother, and that's what they want for here as well. Surveillance companies, including Hike Vision and Dewey, have profited handsomely from major contracts to provide this apparatus to monitor and control millions of people. Two companies have won almost 900 million, which is $1.2 billion worth of contracts in the region to work in massive surveillance projects. Muslims living in the region are among the most heavily surveilled populations in the world. They're not even allowed phones. They actually they've been getting jailed for crimes that they apparently done 20 years before. Practicing religion, they can get thrown in jail for that as well. And like I say, they're forced to pick cotton, etc. I mean, you would have thought people being forced to do that died with the American Civil War, but here we are in 2025 talking about it. One group of journalists visiting towns in the region over the last few years described surveillance cameras looming over every few feet. I mean, while others dubbed Xinjiang a surveillance laboratory, so it's like a testing ground, if you like. And they've sent some of their protocols out into the Western world that they are so worried about. And I actually I think I've done a video, I mentioned a video last year when they had sort of paid and funded people from the Chinese Communist Party to come into London and start spreading the word about how great communism is. Great for the people that run it maybe, but not so good for the people that keep it up, as it's been through the course of history with that. £158 million contract. Exactly how many CCTV are active in Xinjiang is not known, but the sheer size of contracts awarded offers some insight into the scale of the surveillance. Many of the contracts are for public-private partnerships with municipalities, supposedly focused on making areas safe and secure. £158 million contract award to Hikvision Vision create a safe zone in the city of I don't even know how to pronounce it, Urimke, with a population of around 3.5 million, including 30,000 new CCTV cameras. I mean, I'm smiling, but I'm not laughing. Like, a video analysis centre and a comprehensive monitoring operation over a 10-year cooperation period. A significant number of additional contracts were awarded to do it. So, I mean, why are they being awarded? It has to be the first question. Why are we awarding these contracts to these companies? It's absolutely insane. Just stop awarding them these contracts. There's sanctions all the time for countries that are against bloody that are involved in criminality. So why is this any different? And this is the worst criminality. When you hear it, I've put out the article, a couple of articles that I found on the concentration camp, and the people are subjected to the worst conditions that make Nazi Germany look, well, maybe not look tame, but it's more of the same. And it's actually quite funny because after the Second World War, the Japanese had run a unit, I think it's Unit 731 or Unit 741, and it was a human testing centre, the absolute worst human experiments you could bloody think of. And I'm not even going to go into it because I don't want to taste the words again, frankly. Read up about it and it'll make you feel sick, like, at some of these experiments. Well, it was actually the Japanese that ran that, and the vast majority of people that were tested in there or used for experiments just happened to be Chinese prisoners of war. So, and then you look at Israel, what they're doing to the Palestinians, that's what the Nazis done to them. So it's the old saying, what you fight you become. Where's the lessons being learned? Where's the empathy to say, well, our people went through that, so why would I do it to that? It's just absolute madness. And the Hikvision projects with similar names that were signed in the late 2010s by the Xinjiang municipalities worth tens of millions of pounds. So this has been signed over. This has been signed for quite a long time, and the value of these contracts, and it's been. I mean, who do you think it is that's paying for it? And Big Brother Watch, they do say that some of these live facial recognition, which will come in a minute, they're supposed to have race detecting technologies, but Big Brother Watch, they claim they don't have any evidence that the UK public sector is using race detecting algorithms developed by Hikvision or Dwa. However, we have found that at least 24 public bodies have similar capabilities, though they are not necessarily in use. Freedom of Information responses to us found that 24 public sector organisations, including 14 schools, 6 councils, 2 hospitals, a university and a further education college, have cameras capable of profiling an individual's age and gender. Likewise, the underlying technology algorithmically analyses individual faces to identify their characteristics. These advanced capabilities are highly intrusive and prone to abuse regardless of whether they are active. The technology has no place in public bodies in the UK. This technology has no place in a free and open society, but that's alarmingly becoming not what we have, as I'm sure you'll agree. And ethnicity profiling AI is just one of the high-tech facial recognition-based tools used against ethnic minorities in China. Emotion detection, like I mentioned earlier, so they can detect if you're going to commit a crime or not. This was all in films 15, 20 years ago. Detection AI has also been trialled on Uyghurs with computer software analysing people's faces in an attempt to detect their inner feelings. A whistleblower said the systems have been included in places such as police stations and compared them to an advanced lie detector, which can't be used in court because apparently they can be beat by some people, which they can. It was claimed that the software goes beyond flagging someone as a happy or sad, using AI to generate emotional pie charts with segments including anxiety. Emotional and ethnicity detection AI are branches of facial detection technology that has been widespread in Xinjiang for several years. It's more than that. Algorithm-driven facial analysis built on software that can detect or recognise face, and the difference between estimating age and race is little more than a software update away. So they just need to update the software, and they've already got these capabilities, and they've had them. All this stuff would have been developed in DARPA back in the 60s along with the internet. The internet goes back further than even that. But see, just because they introduced the technology at that time, it doesn't mean it's just new to that time. It's just when they've decided we can have it. And that's just the way it goes. People just think it's new technology. Let's see with the smartphones, everybody. I mean, I do it myself now. It's like, you could think back to a time when you got up and didn't just go straight to your smartphone to do what you needed to do. It does. I was thinking about it the other night there. It's to go back to that. I think it would be quite nice. Face detected night vision cameras with TV screens showing faces in green boxes are already in use in locations as sensitive as the AE reception of some hospitals. We recommended that close attention is paid to more than 5% of public bodies with height vision or DAWIA-made facial demographic detection to make sure they do not enter common use. But they will actually enter common use if we don't get our heads in the game here, ladies and gentlemen. And Tower Hamlets rejects CCP surveillance. This was the London Borough of Tower Hamlets, has been a strong voice in local government on the suffering of Uyghurs, opposing Chinese plans to relocate their embassy to the former site of the Royal Mint in the East End of London. Streets and buildings surrounding the proposed site could be renamed to support human rights in China. Despite being the planned home of Beijing's London outpost, the borough told us it does not use height vision or other Chinese CCTV companies due to their role in persecuting ethnic minorities. And it went to, actually, just I got a thought there, when the London Olympics in 2012, when they passed the flaming torch over for the next, because it was Beijing in 2016, wasn't it? Somebody can perhaps correct me, but if that is the case, then it's almost like they're passing the torch to China to then take over, isn't it? It does make you wonder. Because that's been fed into people's consciousness, and as I've gone into videos before, like your consciousness, your subconscious is what directs your life, and until you make it the conscious mind, it'll direct your life, and you'll call it fate. And I just wanted to go. Actually, there's a question, like I say, that question and answer that I'd spoken about with regards to facial recognition. There was like I say, I'll put it in the link in the description, the link. But there was a couple of questions that I had highlighted that shows just how bad this technology is, and how much they don't know about it. And I'm going to end the video with this, and I'll obviously leave it to yourself to do your own research. So this is question 3 of the whole question and answer. How does LFR threaten our rights? Live facial recognition. What are the risks of this technology? And this was the answer that was given. LFR presents a radical departure from long-held principles embedded in UK policing practices that serve to protect, here it comes, our rights and freedoms. It is a fundamental principle that individuals should not have to identify themselves to the police unless they are suspected of criminal behaviour. But that's the problem, they're suspecting people of criminal behaviour that have not been involved in it. This is the problem with the technology. LFR reverses this protection by indiscriminately subjecting innocent members of the public to mass identity checks. They've just admitted it. During a deployment, everyone who passes by a LFR camera is treated like a potential suspect who requires vetting by law enforcement, as you'll see in these videos, which undermines the presumption of innocence. It is unimaginable that the police would randomly stop members of the public going about their daily lives to check their fingerprints against databases for a potential match. There is no reason LFR should perform the same function with intrusive automated biometric software. The deployment of LFR technology threatens privacy both on an individual level and as a societal norm. The AI-powered mass surveillance software takes biometric scans of each individual who passes by the camera and retains photos of those flagged by the system, even when no further action is taken by the police. The significance of a technology which subjects us all to constant surveillance that does not only record our whereabouts and activities, but can also identify us in real time as we go about our daily lives cannot be understated. In recent years, parliamentarians across parties in Westminster, members of the SMED, rights and equalities groups and technology experts across the globe have called for a stop the use of this technology. And in previous meetings, they'd obviously warned of the risk of police forces used in conjunction with CCTV networks. So they're using, this is what I just said before, they're using both of them. They're both connected. You'd be a fool to think that that is not connected. Of course it is, and the Chinese government will be using it, because it doesn't matter. And this is another question that caught my eye when I was reading through it. So this is with regards to the accuracy of it. How accurate is LFR, and does it have a race bias? What about the NPL report? Live facial recognition suffers with well-documented issues relating to accuracy and race and gender bias. In addition to Mr. Thompson, that was the guy I mentioned before, legal challenging our observation work, Big Brother Watch has witnessed the MPS misidentify children in school uniforms using LFR and then subject them to lengthy, humiliating and aggressive police stops. Police state, ladies and gentlemen, it was always coming. It was David Icke said it 30 years ago it was coming, and now it's here, so no point laughing at them now, is there? In which they were required to evidence their identity and provide fingerprints in 2 such cases. The children were young black boys, of course they were, and both children were scared and distressed. Absolutely, they're children, not used to that type of, subjected to that type of stress at that age. Most adults can't handle it. One of these stops was also witnessed by the MPS independent reviewer Professor Peter Fusey, who remarked on how distressed and clearly intimidated the child was. Well, I'm shocked. In April 23, the MPs and SPW commissioned a report into the accuracy of the LFR system from the National Physical Laboratory. The Home Office and all 7 police forces deploying LFR have relied on the NPL report to suggest that there is no statistically significant difference between the technology's performance across different demographics. This is despite the fact that the study tested only one algorithm. I mean, how can you... But not all police forces use the same LFR software, which is obviously going to be another problem with regards to collecting data on how accurate this is. The performance of the various algorithms differ significantly. Of course they do, because they're different. We have serious concerns about the limitations of this report and how its findings have been presented by the police. Well, I mean, the police aren't truthful now anyway. Just a quick side note before I go into this next part. I seen a guy, he was literally, you could tell he was just out his training. Somebody was parked on a double yellow line up the street here just a few weeks ago, which there's no traffic, it's not illegal to do that now, although we should refrain from doing it. But anyway, this person would briefly parked outside a shop, which many people do, and I'm not kidding you, it was maybe 100 yards from them, just along at the hairdressers, and this guy he was on his own as well. He got in his bloody his police car and he put his lights on. I kid you not, he put his lights on to drive 100 yards to tell the woman she shouldn't be parked on a double yellow line. If that isn't the evidence of a wanker, I'm not sure what is. And he should be ashamed of himself. The report found that the police LFR software is in fact less accurate for women and people of colour. Of course it is. Although this bias reduces, and this is another thing I know, there's some people out there now because of the immigration problem that not really care about that, and that's wrong. I mean, you don't harbour hatred, there's no point, it's not their fault. I'm sick of saying it. And there is some terrible people coming out of this country, I'm not denying that, but not all of them are like that. So this is set to limit match alerts. Sorry, just wait a sec, I've lost my... Report found have been printed by the police. The report found that the police officer was in fact accurate for women and people of colour, although this bias reduces when a higher accuracy threshold is set to limit match alerts, specifically above the 0.6 threshold. So it's all 0.6, 0.7, it's done on these sort of numbers, you'll see that when you read into it. However, police forces have operated the technology at lower settings in the past, but there are no safeguards to prevent them from doing so in the future. At the 0.6 threshold, which various forces operate the software, 13 black and Asian individuals were still falsely flagged. So that's dropping it down to start. So it's obviously like the searching for people, they must turn it up and down on how many people are going to get flagged. I'm not actually sure of the mechanics of that yet. Whilst no white individuals were misidentified, there is a greater margin of error when LFR is deployed in real life settings as compared to laboratory test conditions. As the number of faces scanned grows, even a small probability means that hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals could be wrongly flagged and be forced to prove that they are not who the technology says they are. The computer says you've done this. Why do we need to prove that? I mean, and like you saying, you've seen these videos, there's guys got their ID out proving that it's not him, and they're still holding. It's just distressing people. And some of these coppers like that, and I've just mentioned there, they need to really give themselves a shake and pull their heads right out of their arses, because one day well, maybe not like, but one day they'll hopefully come down with a crash and bang and realise just how much of a wanker they've actually been. because I'm sorry, like I try not to swear in these videos now, but I can't help it with some like it's stuff like this. Given that misidentities are more likely to impact certain groups, this could exacerbate the existing inequalities in policing. Well, we have found this concern borne out during our observations of deployments. In February 24, Sean Thompson, a black anti-knife crime community worker, was misidentified by the Metropolitan Police facial recognition system, which was deployed near London Bridge. He was held up by the police for almost 30 minutes as they made him prove he was not the individual in the waters by showing multiple ID documents. Police also demand, and they, that's just the, yeah, police also demanded and made children arguing that his use of software is unlawful. Yeah, and then there's how accurate is it, and does it have a race bias? I've already went through that one. And as the police use of LFR and targeted at high crime areas, different forces have different procedures for where LFR deployments can be located. Hampshire and Essex have highly permissive standard operating procedures which allow for LFR to be deployed anywhere that there is a likelihood or reasonable grounds to suspect that at least one person on the police watch list will attend the proposed location during the deployment. With large watch lists, statistically this would mean that LFR could be deployed constantly. It is an ineffective and meaningless safeguard. Bedfordshire and Northants SOPs are even more vague, stating that the authorising officer is responsible for choosing the location, so it's based on the person that does that. So that, and we all know at work our mood can change from day to day, and it's just wrong. Why is it all different? Why are they? Why if they're going to make it work, surely it has to be the same. And decision where to be located after in North Wales must rather ambiguously be formed by the intelligence case. SWP state that there should be reasonable grounds to suspect that the proposed deployment location is one which one or more persons on the watch list will attend. And notably, only one person on the watch list need to be reasonably suspected to attend to justify the entire deployment. I mean, so obviously, just reading from that, you can see that it's obviously not accurate. It obviously doesn't work. It's misidentifying innocent people who are accused of being criminals, shoplifters, whatever. They're being held up. The world's already held up with this nonsense 5G with bloody traffic lights. Now we've got facial recognition, a computer that, like I say, essentially doesn't work, identifying non-criminals as criminals. I mean, do we really need any more of this bloody nonsense? Do we need to be spied on anymore? I mean, look at, you can be spied on through your Wi-Fi, through your smartphones. Yet there are cameras everywhere, even in small places like this. It's just absolutely insane the amount of, well, you heard at the start of the video. So I think it's time to start. People need to, I don't know how many people are doing it, because I have an odd conversation with odd people now and again, but I know we're here to enjoy our lives, of course we are, but we're not going to have any lives to enjoy. I mean, me saying that, there's going to be people out there saying, well, I'm not enjoying life now and I haven't been for the last few years, and there's a lot of people like that. There's definitely a lot of mental health problems. I see it at work, and building sites aren't exactly, or construction sites, power stations aren't exactly good places to sort of bring out your mental health problems or try and talk about, even though it should be a safe space. It's just not the done thing, especially when the older generations are. So it's hard to talk about these things, and it's hard to say how we're feeling, because maybe it was like when I was younger, I tried to bring my decency out, but I didn't want people thinking I was weak, taking your good nature for weakness, which so many people have done. So maybe there's an element of that to it, but at the same time, when there's a country of China that's got social credit systems, they've got concentration camps, they've got there's a surveillance state. Just go and have a look at some of the bloody AI robotic technology they have in their streets, monitoring what's going on. And like I say, I've said it before, this is why COVID was kicked off there. And then you look at places like Italy. Italy are using, they're into live facial recognition. Lombardy in Italy is called the China of Europe because of their pollution. That's another thing that you don't hear the bloody climate change brigade talking about that with regards to China. So everything's all interlinked, and I don't think we can deny that now. I mean, you look at it when COVID started as well. It was absolutely unbelievable when people fell for that. And I just can't advise this time that we don't fall for the fact that we need to have these cameras on our streets to protect our civil liberties and freedoms, because we absolutely do not. We can do that on our own. All we need is a wee bit of a backbone, and to stop voting for corrupt politicians that are connected to these scumbags. And I can promise you, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get on just fine. take control of your life, take responsibility, and don't be a coward just because someone says something that you don't agree with, or that's maybe making you feel a wee bit angry because it's bursting your illusion, or the bubble in your illusion. Don't hold it against them. They've just sort of opened their mind and tried to get to the next level, which you need to do as well. Because again, your mental health's going to suffer if you don't rise with the frequency. The frequency is going to bring you down, and that is exactly what's happening, which is why so many people are committing suicide, because they're not rising with the frequency. The frequency is bringing them down, so they're going to cheap means of dopamine. There's a crack cocaine problem in this in this country at the moment, in the UK and the world probably, because they're going for cheap dopamine, because the frequencies, they're not rising with the frequency, it's bringing them down, so they need to try and get something to bring them up. That's why I work out 7 days a week. It's absolutely relentless at the moment, because it's had to be, because that's what you need to do if you sort of want to live a better life, or a more interesting life, and you need to get up and make the change, which again I'm just about to do, which is making me uncomfortable to say the least. The flight alone is making me nauseous. It's 13 hours, but so be it, that's what has to be done. And again, the videos will be coming for that when I get there. But just, I know it's hard to force someone into an interest. When I've just had a 3 month hiatus, I mean, my mum brought stuff to me, a few other people, and I'm focused on this at the moment. And I get that, I understand that, but just try and, even if you need to do it in your own time, just to come to an understanding, just bloody do it. I don't know what that's in, whether it's in this subject or any of the others I've spoken about. But I'm going to end it there. I've tried to kind of make it last an hour. That's it, just gone an hour now. I'm going to try and get the rest of these. I've got absolute stacks of notes that I'm going to have to try and get into videos. Like I say, I'd stagnated a wee bit, and that's another thing I forgot to mention. If anyone's tried to contact that email address that's on this channel, that disheartened me. I got hacked into with that, and it ended up getting closed down, and I got hacked into my PayPal, and there was a few other things, and it caused an absolute stressful moment. And I've just not put another one up yet, so if you do need to get in contact with me with anything, you can still get me on Instagram. I've actually downloaded Snapchat. That was just to stay in touch with my brother. But it would need to be Instagram or that at the moment, until I get another email address put up there. I'm reluctant to put one up because they'll just try and hack into it again. On that mail.com, I kept getting emails to say, oh, you need to update your account, put in your password, and I thought it was from them. And here it was obviously from a hacker, because they kept getting them, and it was going to close down my account. Then there was nothing on there for them, like. But then they tried to send me a Google to log into my Google, which I just thought, oh, no chance. And as soon as I'd done that, it was just they sent out this malicious malware, and it just the people that obviously run the email, they just shut it down, and you can appeal it, like, but they said even though this might not be you, we have to keep it shut down. So I do apologise for anyone that's not been able to get in touch. Again, I'd like to just thank you for watching this video. I'll be posting as well. I'd love to get another live done, but I don't know, I struggle with titles for these things. I know people say, oh, it doesn't matter about that, but it does to me, because you need a title. But anyway, thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, or the weekend. This is Friday as I record this, and I'll definitely see you on the next one. Thanks and take care.